All right, third game, my second read here. I'm going Maryland at Ohio State. I don't know what you make of the point spread, 19 and a half, give or take, wherever you find your game. This is all about proving it to me about Maryland. And obviously, Ohio State defensively is as good as advertised. They are electric on that side of the football. But here's some, I want to throw some interesting numbers out. Maryland, by the way, only 3 sacks allowed the entire season. They have protected the quarterback, and that's been a big part of their success. That is going to be a huge challenge this weekend when they face Ohio State. On the other side of the ball, here's my one thing for Kyle McCord and Ryan Day if you're listening. Travion Henderson, 11 touches a game is not good enough. He should have 30 touches in this game against Maryland, and if he gets his workload, there is no excuse for this Ohio State team not to win the game. But again, give your star tailback more than 11 touches a game. That's malpractice on an offensive game plan, especially for an offense that has not exactly looked like the Ohio State offense of old.
Ohio State's pretty deep at running back, though. And they've got a lot of.
They're good. I know.
They're keeping. I think they're just trying to keep him fresh. But I think the big question for me coming into this game is, I mean, Maryland has given Ohio State some trouble before in College Park. I think how good is Maryland is the question. I think we're going to find out on Saturday. And they're 5-0. I like the fact they've beaten everybody they played by a combined score of 193-66 so far. Got off to a little slow start at times in a couple games, but for the most part, they've taken care of business. Line of scrimmage was a question mark for this team coming into this year. So far, they have held up well. Ohio State's defensive front, while they're not getting a lot of sacks, is capable of creating a lot of pressure and havoc. So we will find out if the numbers are believable for Maryland or if Ohio State's talent is just, this is the toughest test Maryland has played so far. They're not able to meet the moment. Tagovailoa from Maryland off to a great start too. A huge performance last week in the win. So I think a lot of things line up here for Maryland to potentially make things interesting if they can hold up at the line of scrimmage. And on the flip side of things, Ohio State's had a week off after beating Notre Dame. So what kind of offensive jump is Kyle McCord going to make now that he should have more confidence? Now he's been the full-time starter, a good road win at Notre Dame. So I'm looking for jumps on both sides here. It's hard to pick against Ohio State at home because I just think defense and I think line of scrimmage will eventually swing this game to the Buckeyes.
Part of the reason I'm talking Henderson is because part of the reason that Maryland gave them trouble is that they just didn't line up and punch him in the face. And I think Ohio State fans were complaining about that in those matchups. And just there's no just line, keep it simple, stupid. Like you don't have to outthink the Maryland defense. Now the Maryland offense, very different story. That's a great strength on strength matchup for Ohio State's defense, and I can't wait to see what happens. Like this is where, and I know we've had some people ask about us on the show and sort of our belief in Mike Locksley as a great recruiter, but not necessarily as a schemer. He's sort of a basketball coach that rolls it on out there. Well, this is the game you could prove that wrong. Like show us the scheme, show us the wizardry that if you've got it, don't hold back in this game. This is the one that matters. And you've got the offensive weapons to stay with Ohio State because here's the problem. You ain't going to stop them, I don't think. But the only way that happens is if Ohio State keeps it simple on offense. Just punch them in the face. Line up, run the football, and be creative off of that with play action. Get your weapons in space. Make it simple on Kyle McCord. And I think if you do that, then you win easily. And, you know, that's I know it's a 19-point spread, so that's not a dramatic take. But, like, Maryland has so much to prove. They've given you trouble before. Don't overthink it if you're Ohio State. Just hit him in the mouth.
It's a huge measuring stick game like we talked about for Maryland. I think that the games against Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, if you look at their schedule outside of those three, it's not crazy to think that they could win the rest of their games on the schedule. They could be 9-3 or 8-4 at the end of the year. But I think to figure out where they are in the hierarchy of the Big Ten, you know, there was some questions. Should they be ranked this week? They're kind of on the bubble in some rankings, 26, 27. Some people have them ranked. Well, if they have a good showing against Ohio State on Saturday, maybe in a loss, maybe they still sneak in there. But I think this, to me, it's about understanding where Maryland is, 5-0, kind of where are they, but also Ohio State, the in-season growth. We've wondered about that. They've looked a lot better to me from week 1 to week 4 when they played Notre Dame. Now they have the big win. Can they continue to build on that because the Penn State game's coming up?
Yep. I think This is a good matchup, X's and O's schematic wise for Ohio State. So I think that's a big part of this. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a big challenge for Maryland.